remember that arrays can also hold any type? Well, object is a type, so arrays can hold object literals. Here's an example. Let's go back to my dog, and we'll just go back to the simplified name that's just a string. And we have my sister's dog, Zipper, and we can create an array of dogs by adding those two variables to the array. So let's take a look at that. Let's create my dog. And let's create my sister's dog. So now we have my dog, we have sister's dog, and let's put those two dogs in an array. So we're going to create a variable called myListOfDogs, and we're going to make it an array by using the square braces. Inside those square braces we can make a list of things separated by commas. So let's put the first one as my dog, and the second one as my sister's dog. Now we've created an array with two variables, and so our array has the two dogs. So if I look at my list of dogs, sub 0, it's going to give me the object with Maisie in it. If I look at sub 1, it's going to give me my object with Zipper in it. We can also define those object literals directly in the array. So let's change this to myListOfDogs 2 so we can use both arrays. So if we say, well, let's just copy it. And we're going to say myListOfDogs, and my formatting got a little bit off here, so let's do a little editing so it's easier to read. Let's get rid of some of these spaces. Remember, spaces don't matter in JavaScript, so we just want to format it in the way that it's easiest to read. So you can see we have the first item in the square brackets is an object literal, and all these commas inside the object literal only apply to the object literal. Once we close out the object literal with the curly braces, then the comma means, okay, I'm ready for my next array item. My next array item is in the curly braces, and so those curly braces are defining my second object literal for Zipper, and then I'm closing out my array with the square braces. So now I have myListOfDogs 2, and sub 0 is also Maisie, and sub 1 is Zipper. So we can use intermediate steps to make our array by defining dog, my dog, and sister dog, and then putting them in the array, or we can do that all in just one step by defining the object literals directly in the array. Well, once we have an array, then we can loop through that array. So let's take a look at creating a loop. So let's look at a for loop. To step through the array, we need to create some variable that's going to hold the index. And we usually use I for that. Our array index starts at 0, so we'll set I equal to 0. Then we want to go through the entire array. Well, we have two items in the array, and so we need to go 0 and 1. So we could say when I is less than 2. But then if we add items to our array, we have to keep updating that number. So instead, we can just use the length of the array. So if we type in myListOfDogs, and we could use myListOfDogs 2, or we could just use myListOfDogs. We have both of them right now. One we defined with intermediate steps, one we just defined directly. So let's just use the first one for now, and we can use this length property. that's actually just the same as object literal properties. When you create an array, JavaScript creates a length property for you so that you can access how many elements are in that array. Well, we want to go up to less than the length because the index starts counting at 0. So if we go all the way up to the length, it's 2. If we look at my list of dogs sub 2, then we'll be beyond the end. So we're going to go less than here, not less than or equal. Then for each time through the loop, we want to increment that index so we can step through all of them. Then we need curly braces to say this is what we're going to do inside that loop. Well, let's just do a simple alert, and let's alert my list of dogs and the value at each index. So for each element in the index, alert what's in the array. Oh, I forgot of. My list of dogs. Remember, JavaScript has to have the exact match. Okay, so it says the first one is an object. Well, yeah, it is an object. And the second one is an object. Well, that's correct, but it's not very helpful. So if we want to get to some of the actual data, we need to start using the dot notation. So let's add a dot. Well, to get the object, we had to get the element from the array first. So the dot goes after the square brackets, because the square brackets are what is causing that single object to be returned. So after we have those square brackets, then we can start putting in the object literal property values using the dot notation, like dot name. So here we go, and we're pulling out first Maisie and then Zipper. So we can get any of the values from there, and here's an example where I'm going to pull out first the name and then the breed. So let's try that one. Let's copy and paste that for loop in here and see. So the dog Maisie is a puggle, and here we're pulling that information out. The dog Zipper is a rat terrier. So we can take advantage of arrays and object literals together to put all the information about one dog in an object literal, and then make an array of multiple dogs in my array.